is a special day set aside in this country to celebrate our veterans. Veterans are people who have served in our nation's military and have fought in our nation's wars. And so this is a special day that is set aside by our government. And today I'm going to read to you a proclamation from our nation's president. It says, during National Veterans and Military Families Month, we salute the brave and dedicated patriots who have worn the uniform of the United States, and we celebrate the extraordinary military families whose selfless service and sacrifice make our military the finest in the world. Our nation's veterans represent the best of America. Generation after generation, men and women have answered the call to defend our country and our freedom, facing danger and uncertainty with uncommon courage. They make tremendous sacrifices by leaving their families to serve throughout the homeland and in combat, contingency, and humanitarian operations worldwide. Our heroes have always relied on their families for strength and support. Serving alongside our men and women in uniform are spouses, siblings, parents, and children who show the ideals of patriotism, pride, resilience, service above self, and honor. They endure hardships and uncertainty of multiple relocations, extended trainings, and deployments because of their admirable devotion of our country and a loved one in uniform. It is most appropriate that in this season of gratitude, we stop to recognize veterans, military families, and those who gave their lives in service to this great nation. We are indebted to those heroes for the freedoms we enjoy every day. I ask all Americans to join me in offering our sincere thanks to our veterans and the families who love and support them. Now therefore, I, Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim November 2018 as National Veterans and Military Families Month. I encourage all communities, all sectors of society, and all Americans to acknowledge and honor the service, sacrifices, and contributions of veterans and military families for what they have done and for what they do every day to support our great nation. And this was signed by Donald Trump, our president. Boys and girls, over here is seated a number of people who have either served in our nation's military, and there are some here in the back I see that have come in, or they are family members. And these people are connected to Lee in different ways. I have a list of people who said they may or may not be here today. If I call your name, these are people who are associated with Lee Elementary, who are linked to the military. If I call your name, if you would either stand or acknowledge that you're here. You don't have to stand if you can't. But if you would, do acknowledge that you're here. And if I miss someone, I'll give you that chance to express that you're here and who you're related to. So first we have Brandon Ham. He serves in the U.S. Army. He's the father of Nicholas and Jocelyn and Landon Ham. Mr. Ham? And it is okay to give a round of applause. No Self served in the U.S. Army. He's Miss Self's dad and a former Lee Lion. Let's give him a round. Alexander Legena. Is Alexander Legena here? Okay, Alexander served in the U.S. Army, and he is Jedrick Legena's father, who's in Miss Sharon's class. Is Charles Alexander here? Charles Alexander is over here. Good. He is related to Julia Dinger and Audrey Alexander, and he served in the U.S. Navy. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Is Stephen Brown here? Stephen Brown. Okay, Stephen Brown served in the Army National Guard. He may have to work, is what they told me. He is the father of Lana Brown in Miss Boatwright's class. Johnson Almaraz, his great-great-grandpa is James Floyd Kelly. Is Mr. Kelly here? Okay, he served in World War II. And Jonathan Almaraz is in Miss Acuna's class. Do we have Gary Hulsey? Gary? All right, Gary's here. Gary served in the Army. He is Gabby Flores in Miss Ariano's class. That's her grandfather. Thank you. Heath Ward. Yeah, I saw you in here earlier. Heath Ward served in the U.S. Army. He is the father of Camellia Ward in Mrs. Skate's class. Jamie Magana is in Mrs. Hernandez's class. Her grandfather is no longer with their family, but he served as a Marine. His name was Rick Tyndall. Rick Tyndall. Is Sally Ann Gellon here? Sally Ann? Sally Ann is a veteran related to T.J. Boson in Mrs. Phillips' class. Is Pearlie Waters here? Pearlie Waters. Miss Waters is not here, but Miss Waters served in the Air Force, and she is Quentin and Athena and Sophia's grandmother. Devon Nelson. Devon served in the Army, and he is Devin Nelson's dad. And Alan Williams. Alan served in the U.S. Air Force, and he is Aubrey Williams in 4th grade, Aubrey Williams' father. Is Larry Baker here? Larry, thank you for being here. Larry served in the U.S. Air Force. He is Rylan in 2nd grade. That's his lunch buddy. And then Irma, he comes here and has lunch. Where's Frank? Frank, you know Miss Becky in the office? That's her daddy. And he served in the U.S. Navy. Retired Master Sergeant Albert Escobar. He served in the Air Force. He's not here today. And he's Lydia and Sawyer Swope's grandfather. Are there any veteran or active service members that we have not? Yes, Miss Cromwell.
I forgot to put my dad on the list.
All right. Would you like to introduce your dad? Miss Cromwell.
This is Sergeant Patrick Murphy. He served with Troop 142 in the Army National Guard.
Do we have anyone else? Anyone else? Very good. Well, boys and girls, up next we have a special guest who is a veteran, and I'm going to introduce him now, and he's going to share some words. His name is Darryl Horn. Mr. Horn graduated from Springdale High School. He served our country through the U.S. Marine Corps from 1966 until 1972. Mr. Horn received a Purple Heart and Combat Action Medals for his actions and wounds received during Operation Buffalo, and he received a Presidential Unit Citation. So that means, boys and girls, that he received a lot of awards as a soldier. In 2015, he wrote a book sharing his military experience titled Blood, Sweat, and Honor, Memoirs of a Walking Dead Marine in Vietnam. Mr. Horn, I'd like to invite you up here, and let's give him a round of applause.
good-looking bunch out there. Y'all happy to be here?
Oh, yeah.
Well, good morning, faculty, Lee students, and your families. It's good to have you here. I want to give a special welcome to our veterans. Thank y'all for being here. It's good to see other veterans. I want to thank Ms. Irma Bantha for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share with y'all on this special Veterans Day event. I'm Darryl Horn. I'm a combat veteran of the Vietnam War, and I'm a proud American. I'm here today with my lovely wife, Marilyn. She's over here taking my picture. Marilyn and I have grown up in Springdale. Our parents moved up here when we were very young from southern Arkansas. And we both graduated from Springdale High School. And something y'all might like to know about Miss Marilyn is that she was a student here at Lee when she was 10 years old in the 5th grade. So she is a Lee, what are y'all, Lions?
Yes, we are Lions.
Okay. Marilyn and I have been married several years. We have twin daughters and a son, and we have 5 grandkids. I am happy to have other veterans here today besides myself. Could we show them our appreciation again? These veterans are our national heroes, and we appreciate them. To each veteran, I want to say thank you for your service to our great nation, the United States of America. I'm sure that we have veterans here from many branches and many wards, but we all share several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity, all the qualities needed to serve and protect our country. Being a veteran is one of the greatest honors of my life. Every year, over our nation, citizens will attend parades, programs, memorial services, and fly the flag in celebration of our veterans. And that's what we're doing here today. Who is a veteran? A veteran is any man or woman who has served honorably for any length of time in one of our military branches: the Army, the Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. Many of you may have veterans in your family or in your neighborhood. There might even be teachers here that are veterans. You might check and find out. These men and women had to leave their homes and their families to go to unfamiliar places where they were trained to protect our country. The training sometimes was hard and long. Afterwards, they were sent to military bases all over the world and to different countries. Many times the veterans were separated months from their families. When I said goodbye to my family and went off to war for 11 months, I didn't see them all during that time. And I only got to talk to my wife one time, and that was when I was on the short R&R to Hong Kong. Veterans miss their mates, their children, their families. They miss birthday parties. They miss school programs, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Those are just a few of the sacrifices that our veterans make for their country. Who is a combat veteran? A combat veteran is a military person who has gone to war and fought a foreign enemy for his or her country. This is a difficult and scary assignment because they never know but what they may be wounded or killed on the battlefield. And many of our veterans have been wounded and have died fighting for our freedoms. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be in the military? At your young age, probably not. I'd like to share a few things that I experienced as a veteran. So I have a question for you. Do y'all get to sleep in a nice, comfy bed at night? Well, I thought you did. I do too, and I appreciate it. But during the war, I had a different bed. It wasn't like our nice, soft beds. And I'll have to show it to you. This was my bed. I covered up with it, laid on the hard ground, or in the foxhole that I dug, depending on what was going on at the time. And we had to watch out and make sure we wasn't bedding down with mosquitoes, all kinds of little varmints, even snakes and scorpions and rats and whatever, was roaming out in the field, in the jungle. And it was very difficult to sleep because sometimes it was very hot and temperatures like 100 to 120 degrees and very humid. And other times it was very wet and it rained for months and it was cold. So it's very hard to get the rest that you needed. So if anybody needs a nap, that's very comfortable, especially now. I still use it to cover up a bit. It's called a poncho liner, and usually we had a poncho to go with it, which was good for the rain. I'm very excited now to be able to sleep in my nice, comfy, soft bed. Would you like to see what kind of email and cell phone that we had when I was in? I have it right here. You know what that is? It's a letter. And this letter is pretty old now. But my wife and my family, they would write me letters, and it would take 3 to 4 weeks to get to me. And then my wife would leave the back blank, and I would write on the back and send it back to her, and it'd take another 3 or 4 weeks. So communication was very slow, and it took a long time, and we didn't know for those several weeks what was going on. She didn't know how I was doing, I didn't know how she was doing. And then when you read the letter that's 3 or 4 weeks old, you really still don't know. But it was communication. That's what we had at the time. I'm so thankful that our young military people nowadays do have better communications, and some of them even get to use cell phones to call home, which we never did. We didn't have any places where we could just go and call. When you're out in the jungle, that doesn't happen. So what about food? When you're fighting in the war, you're out in the jungles, how do you get your food? Well, we have helicopters that come in every few weeks and drop food to us, and they come in containers like this. This is what the present day warriors get, and this just happens to be meatloaf with gravy. And it's in little boxes, like so. And what I had, these are MREs, ready to eat meals. And what I had was similar to this, but it was a box about this size, and it was sea ration. I tried to find some to show you, but there don't seem to be many around. But anyway, they would come and they had little cans in them. And I always carried my can opener, that's what this is, along with my dog tags, my identification cards, and I'd have to open each one of those little cans, and that was my meal. And that was the only choice that we had. We ate what was dropped, or we didn't eat. So we always ate what they dropped, because we were probably pretty hungry by the time that happened. There were no restaurants or pizza places for hamburgers or pizza. So that was our food. And every few months, sometimes our family would send us a box of goodies. And it would have cookies and popcorn, cake, stuff like that in it. And we thought it was very good, but by the time it got to us, with 3 or 4 weeks in the mail, it was usually just crumbs. And it didn't last very long because we shared with all our friends. But it was really good because it was a touch of home. Where do you think veterans take their baths? Or when people in war, and then like in the jungles of Vietnam? Well, there aren't too many places other than bomb craters that fill up with water, some streams, and even rice paddies. And you don't get very clean that way. So we'd go many days without any kind of cleanup. But once in a while we would find a place where we could clean up a little bit. And you know, we went without, we wore our boots all the time. We even slept with our boots on. And so we all had really stinky feet. Y'all know what stinky feet are?
Yeah.
Not really. You should be with 100 guys with stinky feet. We've been blessed with generations of brave men and women who have sacrificed their time, their service, and even their lives so that we can continue to enjoy our freedom. If not for these brave men and women, the world that we live in now would be a very different place, and it would not be good. I watch for veterans to think and tell them that I appreciate their service because I know what they go through. And y'all might look for veterans to think and shake their hand. They may not know what to say, but I tell you from experience, they really do appreciate it. Vietnam is the war that I fought in. From 1962 through 1975, there were over 3 million of us men and women that left our homes to go serve our country in Vietnam. 20% of us went into combat roles, and the rest were in support roles. And I might add, support roles are very important. There were 58,479 men and women killed during the Vietnam War. There was another 1,600 that were captured or reported as missing in action. There was another 150,000 that were combat wounded. I survived several battles in Vietnam, battling the North Vietnam Army and the Viet Cong, and I was wounded twice. When I came home from Vietnam, it was really not a very receptive time because people were not happy about the Vietnam War. So there were really no thank yous for your service at that time. I'm happy to say, in the last 15 years or so, I have been thanked many times for my service, and I do appreciate the kind words. I'm really encouraged by the welcome home that our young military men and women receive nowadays as they come home from their wars. I want to encourage you young students to always be patriotic and support your military. Remember to always stand and show support for our flag and our national anthem, because these are the symbols of the sacrifices that have been made for us. Today, my wife and I brought some flag stickers. I've seen y'all have been carrying flags around. Well, we have some little stickers that just goes on your blouse or your shirt, just so you show your support. And we gave those to your teachers, so they'll be distributing them later. All veterans have stories that should be told to family and friends about their experiences. I chose to tell mine in the book titled Blood, Sweat, and Honor, Memoirs of a Walking Dead Marine in Vietnam. I wrote this book at the request of my family and friends asking me to write something about my experiences. Well, after about 9 years, I finally finished the book. And I also wanted to share in this book how God protected me during this time. I chose the title Blood, Sweat, and Honor for my book because of all the blood that was spilled in Vietnam in combating the enemy to protect us and them from communism. Sweat was chosen because, hey, we were just a bunch of dirty, sweaty, grungy kids, not a whole lot older than y'all, and we were going without baths weeks on end. And like I said, we didn't take our boots off at night because we had a 24/7 job, and we always had to be ready for the next battle. The honor part was because I saw so many great men serve with honor, even to their death. The Walking Dead Marine subtitle comes from the North Vietnam General Knapp, the leader of the North Vietnam military. General Knapp had wanted to wipe us out, and he said that we would, and because we had defeated him in so many battles already. Anyway, he was so confident that he could that he tagged us dead men walking. Well, the sad part is they almost did wipe us out, but we prevailed. I feel that I'm here today because of prayer. God spared my life because I had so many of my family, my wife, and all back home praying for me. And I think maybe God just wasn't finished with me yet because He's still working on me. My tour in Vietnam started in May of 1967 and ended in February of 1968. I came home on a snowy Valentine's Day to be greeted at the airport by my beautiful wife and our 2.5-month-old twin daughters that I got to see for the first time. I tell you, it was the best day of my life. This past August, my wife and I were able to visit the war memorials in Washington, D.C. The Vietnam Memorial Wall is special to me. Veterans, family members, if you have not visited your memorial, I highly recommend it. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go at first because I was afraid I couldn't handle it emotionally. And it was very difficult. But I'm so glad that I did because I was privileged to honor those 58,479 veterans that paid the ultimate sacrifice. I have many friends on that wall. Out of my battalion alone, there's 749 names on that wall that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And on just one panel of that wall, there are 59 of my buddies that were all killed in one day on July the 2nd, 1967, during an operation called Buffalo. That was not a good day. I believe it's never too late to pay tribute to our veterans who served and continue to serve with valor, courage, and honor during the wars and even peacetime. Today we want to honor all of our veterans who have answered the call to serve our great nation, making this nation a much better place. We need to thank God not only for the gift of life, but for the gift of our veterans, because they have sacrificed so much for our freedoms. Thank you for attending and having me today. It's been a real privilege. I want to say God bless you May God bless our veterans. May God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank y'all very much.
While Veterans Day is primarily a tribute to America's living veterans and should be observed more as a celebration than as a somber remembrance, it is always appropriate to include a moment of respect for those who gave their lives for their country. The signing of the World War I armistice took place in a railway coach near the battle zone in France. The bugle sounded, cease firing, and the hostilities ended, marking a most significant moment in world history. Although 11 a.m. remains a traditional hour for this type of tribute, a moment of silence is appropriate. We will now observe a moment of silence followed by a rendition of taps played by professional trumpet player Keith Wood.
Boys and girls, our fourth grade is now going to play and sing for you some patriotic songs. They're going to sing two songs, and the second song is The Grand Old Flag. And during that song, everyone's welcome to sing along and wave your flags if you have them.
Sea to shining sea.
I'm going to invite our friends from Harbor High School, FFA, to retire the colors. If everyone would please stand.